Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Behind the Student Athlete. My name is Corey Black. I am here with my co-host Sean Manji at KQBH LA 101.5 FM Los Angeles. We have two in-studio guests with us today. We have Keegan Flegner and Jim Flegner, who is Keegan's father, with us. Keegan played at Santa Monica's YMCA basketball for 7 years, set league records for games played, most three-pointers, multiple all-star selections, summer travel teams, one of 4 players inducted into Santa Monica's YMCA Basketball Hall of Fame, Pacifica High School, where he is at starting center on JV, and won Coach's Award. Volleyball, plays JV, beach volleyball pairs in 10th grade. At Pacifica High School, starting middle blocker for varsity indoor volleyball team. Cross country, ran Santa Monica High School fall cross country and spring track in 9th grade. Won the open division, beating 1,000 other runners of 2018 Long Beach 5K. And Santa Monica High School awarded 9th grade Male Student of the Year. And at Pacifica High School, a straight A student with honors classes in math, science, and English. Wow. That's a lot.
Sounds like you're running out of room for those trophies in the house. You're going to need another house for that.
We keep looking for space. Yes.
Welcome, guys. How are you?
Thank you.
We are well.
Yeah. Let's get straight into it. Basketball, volleyball, and cross country. If you had to pick one out of the 3 that's your favorite, which would you pick?
Without a doubt, as much respect and love as I have for the other sports, it would absolutely be basketball in a heartbeat. That was the sport, like, from the earliest of ages, I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
So going off that, what drew you to love basketball? Like when you play it or maybe when you watch it to observe, what's your favorite part?
Well, I think my favorite part about it specifically is the fact that it's a true team sport. You can't do anything, by yourself. You have to have a team. And the fact of the matter is I'm not prospering to be, the number one guy and like to do everything on my own. I know for a fact I'm going to need a team. And personally, I'd rather play a role where I can be an equal at least, and help them out in certain ways. And basketball, I think, exemplifies that to the best degree.
I don't think I've ever heard an athlete say that. I think a lot of athletes, including myself, when I played sports, Sean probably the same way, like, we want to be the stars. We want to do it all.
Right. And
for you to have that mindset at 16 years old, to have that mindset of knowing your role and wanting to embrace that and accept that, I commend you for that.
Yeah.
So a lot of respect to that. Jim, I have a question for you though. What's the coolest thing about watching Keegan do his thing on the court, whether it's volleyball or basketball or running cross country?
I think parenting is, there's so many life lessons associated with it, and sports is just a great opportunity to watch your child develop and to truly learn, and to observe him sort of embrace those types of roles and to contribute to, winning teams it always makes you proud as a father. And it just makes you want to watch more and to see what else that he can embrace.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I do want to get a little more personal as a player. Yeah. Tell us one thing that really made you struggle to find the successes in your sports that you've played.
Sure. Well, one of the biggest hard parts I've had to deal with, not just in sports, but I mean in life in general, is the fact that I am an autistic, which basically means that as a result, I'm not the same as everybody, and I try to be, but at the same time, there are certain deficiencies that are going to become obvious. Like, for example, one of the things I struggle with the most is being socially active. And I feel that in sports like basketball and volleyball and even cross country, I could help improve that skill when I play those sports. It's going to help me continue to develop those skills. And no matter how hard it is, it's always going to be there. But at the same time, I feel that playing those sports has helped me address that and make me feel better about it, too, at the same time.
Yeah.
Jim, what are your thoughts?
Well, obviously as a father, you always take a vested interest in understanding what it is that makes your child tick, both their strengths and their weaknesses. And, Keegan was diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum when he was in first grade, so he was relatively young. I think sports would have been an important role in his life no matter what, but it really took on an enhanced importance once we made that realization, because we now look at sports as it's occupational therapy. It's effectively what he can do that builds those muscles. And his, the success that he's had in sports has absolutely been attributable not to his physical ability, because that's not what distinguishes him. What distinguishes him is his willingness to work incredibly hard. He's remarkably coachable, and that's the other aspect about this as well, in terms of being on the spectrum, that I actually think is an advantage relative to some other kids that are more neurotypical, which is that we hear over and over again from his coaches, man, he's like an incredible listener, and he can take feedback that we give him as coaches and integrate it almost immediately. So we were really fortunate to find sports that helped shore up some of the areas that he needed to work on, and at the same time accentuated some of the strengths that were very unique to who he is as a person.
Now, Keegan, how has schooling been, with, being autistic, but also sports and just everyday life? You're a straight A student, honors. How do you get that done?
Well, the interesting thing too is that this is where the similarity between sports and just academics plays its highest, which is like people are going to tell you to do something and it's up to you to do it. And so because I am so good at doing those things, it's just I'll take in information. I'll be like, okay, I got to do this. It's like when a teacher tells me to do an assignment or listen to this and translate this or whatnot, it's like I'll do it. It's like I don't care how hard it is. I know it's going to pay me good dividends if I do it, and also do it well too. It's like, again, when I set my mind to something, I'm going to make it as flipping good as possible as I can, because it's only half as good as it can be. It's like, it's worthless.
Some of the very same qualities that I think have served him well as an athlete have also served him well in the classroom. One of the things that he's really good at that was maybe a little bit harder for me at that age was that he has no degree of self-consciousness whatsoever. It's like if he wants to ask a question, maybe I would have thought it was a dumb question if I were asking that question. For him, it's like, it's no big deal. You just ask. Mm-hmm. And that's the way I think we all should be, right? To sort of overcome that fear and just say, you know what, I'm throwing myself all in and I'm going to contribute as a result. And I'm going to be more valuable as a result to my classroom and to my team as well.
It's interesting you bring that up, Jim, because I wanted to dive into one of the things you had told us off air. You said that one of the hardest things as a father was watching Keegan not make the basketball team and the volleyball teams at Santa Monica High School.
Yep.
Do you think that coaches saw the autistic aspect and maybe used that against Keegan? Because I think a lot of the time people hear autism or Down syndrome or just a bunch of things and they get freaked out.
Yes. Yeah, great questions. And it was something that we as parents, when we were first learning about all of this, that we struggled with. There were definitely times throughout the 10-year period, roughly, where he was playing sports, where there would be setbacks. And I think it's only natural as a parent, you would say to yourself, well, my sixth sense is telling me that maybe the coach isn't getting him. Maybe because maybe he's not giving as much eye contact to the coach as some other kids are, or maybe he's not as loud or as vocal as some of the other kids. Is that being held against him? So there were absolutely instances where I felt his autism was misunderstood. Now, some coaches grasped that and were willing to try to work with that, and others couldn't be bothered, was our experience. And we had to accept that. And as a protective father, that was really hard at times, because you want to teach your kids to be self-sufficient, and you also want to teach them that life is not always fair. So there are going to be times in life where things are not going to break your way. You do have to find these opportunities and create teachable moments out of them, and to say, look, you didn't make the team this time. I think you were deserving, but let's work harder. Let's worry about the things that we can control. It's definitely something that I suspect Keegan will always be grappling with at some level. The great news is that he's remarkably well adjusted and very accepting of who he is, and I think that's half the battle a lot of times.
And I just think too, it's like, the fact of the matter is, it's like, I'm not somebody who complains about pain or suffering as much maybe as I should sometimes, but at the same time, because of that, I'm more willing to take in something that maybe I don't like, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, this happened. I don't like it, but there's nothing I can do about it. So what can I do, basically?
Right.
Now you guys, it's awesome because you guys have this special bond of being, being able to coach him, as growing up and everything, Explain that special bond of just getting to, every Saturday morning, basketball games, spending that time with each other at practices, and how was that growing up?
Well, I'm just going to say this right off the bat. It's a blessing and a curse.
I can see that, yeah.
But at the same time, if we want to focus on the good stuff, the best part about him being my coach was basically it's just he could always give me additional information and just insight too. It's like to know what a coach would be thinking, because the fact of the matter is I trust him enough to know that whatever he tells me as a coach, it's going to be honest. It's going to be what any other good coach would say to me. Sometimes he'll just tell me and I'll be like, okay. And thanks to that, I can make these adjustments that will just, make me a better player.
One of the things that I did and he embraced early on, and once I got comfortable enough with it, is I said, here's the deal. I said, from the moment we step into that gym, I'm not your dad anymore. In fact, you're not even allowed to call me dad when we're in the gym. You have to call me coach, just like everybody else. The moment we leave, we're back to being father and son. But it was really important, especially I think in those early years, to hopefully he could understand that I'm not treating you any better and I'm not treating you any worse. I'm going to treat you just like any other kid. Now, that means that I'm going to be fair, but I'm also going to hold you accountable. So don't think that just because I'm your dad that you might be able to slough off. Not that he ever did. I can't even think
Yeah, I mean, if I did that, it's like it would even be worse than if it was just a regular coach.
Yeah. And I would say, generally speaking, we both have benefited greatly from having that opportunity to be both a player and a coach to each other.
Jim Flegner, Parent of the Year Award. I think so. Keegan Flegner, Student Athlete of the Year Award. Hell yeah. One of the coolest father-son duos we've had in studio. This is 101.5 FM KQBH LA. We'll be back.